Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to be solving the death at the dive bar. I have tried one of these hunt a killer mysteries before, and it was so hard I gave up on it. So I got an easy one, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to solve it. Inside, we've got lots of clues that we'll take a look at as we unfold the story. But here is the scenario. A murder at the local dive bar. A mysterious masked figure. A small town full of suspects. When owner Nick Webster falls from a cliff behind his roadside tavern, his death is ruled an accident. But one of his employees suspects foul play, and she needs your help to prove it. Do you have what it takes to hunt a killer? Let's go ahead and open the box and see what is inside. We have the game manual. The intro reads, "Welcome to Hunt a Killer. Death at the Dive Bar. Contained within this box is everything you'll need to solve the murder of Nick Webster, the owner of Old Scratch Tavern in Perdition, Indiana. You will assume the role of a private investigator to uncover the truth about what really happened to Nick on the night he died. Along the way, you'll investigate suspects, string together clues, and crack a few codes to unravel the mystery and bring a killer to justice." So our objective here is to uncover the killer of Nick Webster. We're going to need to discover clear means, motive, and opportunity to find the killer. Only one suspect will fit all three categories. The means are the method of the murder. The motive is the reason why the killer attacked Nick. The opportunity is the ability for the killer to have been at the scene of the crime at the time of the death. I think we're ready to get started. Here is our letter from Gray Investigations. It reads, "Hello, investigator. I'm so glad you've joined Gray Investigations. I'm excited to be mentoring a new member of our investigative team, and I trust that you're up to the challenge of solving this crime. Your client, Carmen, was struggling to get anyone to listen to her before she came to us. I don't know what the local authorities were thinking when they ruled Nick Webster's death an accident. As soon as I took a look, I knew she was on to something. There's no doubt in my mind Nick Webster was murdered. It's just a matter of figuring out who killed him. Carmen's already managed to identify 4 clear suspects, each of them more than capable of committing the crime. As you're working this case, pay attention to your suspect's means, motive, and opportunity. Only a combination of all 3 will reveal the killer. When it comes to alibis, you should be able to corroborate everyone's whereabouts at the time of the murder. Anyone who can prove they weren't at the scene of the crime is probably in the clear, but it's not enough to simply exclude innocent suspects. To truly crack the case, you'll need to work out who the real criminal is and why they committed the crime. I'm enclosing all of the evidence Carmen sent. As you review her notes, remember a good investigator never takes a suspect at their word. You should always be able to find information that confirms or contradicts someone's claims. Oh, and I should warn you, a little familiarity with code breaking often comes in handy in cases like this. Unsurprisingly, people with something to hide often use whatever methods they can to conceal their intents. I've had to familiarize myself with a lot of different varieties of cryptic communication over the years. I've left you with an example of one of the most common types of codes I've encountered to help you get up to speed, but don't forget, once you understand the principle, there are lots of different ways to apply the theory. Alright, I think I've given you all the advice I can. You should have whatever you need to find the killer, if you're able to interpret the evidence. Good luck, Michelle Gray." On the back, she has her codes. Shift +1, A, B. This would be the letter before. So if it were B, if this is a B, we would put A. So B is A, and so forth. And then A would be Z. All right, I'm not going to write on my paper because I'm actually going to be giving this to a friend when I'm finished. So let's pull out a different piece of paper here. X is W, H, E, N, Y, O, U. Right, when you have excluded the impossible, and I already know the rest of this phrase from doing mysteries for all of these years, it should be something like, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. But let's see, so shift plus 3 would be the same concept. So D would be 3 letters back, 8 would be 8 letters back, and so forth. So that's how we handle this cipher. Our first clue here is a letter from Carmen Rojas. I'm writing because I think my boss was murdered, but I can't prove it on my own. I'm hoping someone at Gray Investigations can help me. Let me give you a little background. I learned everything I know about bartending from my boss, Nick Webster. He taught me how to pull a perfect pint and coached me on 86ing rowdy patrons. He even helped me rearrange my work schedule so I could be home when my sister was sick last year. Nick was the best. Old Scratch Tavern isn't much to look at, but it's one of those places that feels like home. That was all Nick. I guess that's why it hit me so hard when Nick died in December. It was so sudden and so bizarre. The official story is that Nick was drunk and lost his footing, but too many strange things happened in the months leading up to his death for me to believe it was an accident. The thing is, Nick has been seeing the devil. For months he'd been telling anyone who'd listen that there was someone or something lurking out in the woods behind the bar. At first, everyone assumed he was just exaggerating for the sake of a good story. Nick could spend the whole night in a corner booth spinning yarns and telling tales, but there was no way he could be making up the creepy notes he was getting, or the dead animals on the doorstep, or the fires that kept flaring up near the building. He had no reason to. Not when things were getting so dangerous. Someone was trying to scare him, maybe even scare him to death. He was obsessed with figuring out who was to blame. He'd stay in the bar's office for hours, poring over the security camera footage and scribbling notes. On the night he died, I'd just closed up when he came out of the office and said he'd finally figured it out. Before he could explain, he saw someone outside and ran off into the woods. My back was to the door, so I didn't see anyone. By the time I turned around, both Nick and the devil were gone, and all that was left was a small fire burning outside. After I put it out, I waited for Nick, but he never came back. I can't help wondering what he would have told me if he had the chance. After his death was ruled an accident, I went through and found all the notes he'd been keeping about the devil, and a locked deposit bag I still haven't figured out how to open. I even found proof that the devil was real, finally caught on camera, like Nick had been trying to do for months. I took the evidence I'd found to the sheriff, hoping it would change his mind, but he didn't care that Nick was really chasing after someone that night. The official determination is that Nick slipped and fell off the cliff, but the thing is, I went out to the place where he died, and I don't think the authorities even bothered to look any further than the spot where they found Nick's body. There was caution tape down the rocks, but nothing up on the top of the cliff. The ground near the ledge didn't look like it had been disturbed since Saturday night, and if the authorities had been there, there's no way they'd count out foul play. Somebody in a devil mask really was there that night, and whoever it was pushed Nick off that cliff. The sheriff may not believe me, but I must be making someone nervous by looking into Nick's death. I've started to get threatening letters just like the ones Nick was getting before he died. I'd be lying if I said I'm not scared, but those threats also prove I'm onto something, don't you think? I know I'm close, but I've still got questions I can't answer. I'm sending you all the evidence I've collected in the hopes that you'll be able to do what I can and bring my friend's killer to justice before it's too late. Sincerely, Carmen Rojas. We have here a newspaper article dated Tuesday, December 10th. The Perdition Pioneer. Old Scratch owner's death ruled an accident. A tragic end to a difficult year. The caption on the photo says, Nick Webster and Carmen Rojas toast to the 10th anniversary of Old Scratch Tavern, November 1st, 2015. This is by Mitzi Sutherland. The Perdition Sheriff's Office announced Monday that it has ruled the death of Old Scratch Tavern owner Nicholas Webster an accident. According to Sheriff Paul McGinty, Webster fell to his death in the early hours of Saturday morning, likely minutes after leaving Old Scratch Tavern. It was dark, and unfortunately Nick just lost his footing, McGinty said at a press conference Monday morning. A neighbor discovered Webster's remains at the bottom of Devil's Well, a local waterfall, early Saturday morning. This is not the first misfortune to befall Webster and his tavern in recent months. In July, Webster told this paper nothing valuable was stolen from a series of petty burglaries, but said he was taking measures to ensure incidents did not continue. Sheriff McGinty confirmed that no perpetrator was apprehended for the thefts. More recently, Webster reported a series of small fires and other disturbances at the bar. Official records show that Webster called Perdition Emergency Services 10 times between September 1st and December 7th. Carmen Rojas, a bartender at Old Scratch, said Webster feared someone was out to get him, though she did not know who might have wanted to harm her employer. The circumstances of Webster's death led some Perdition residents, including Rojas, to speculate whether his fall might not have been accidental. However, Sheriff McGinty was adamant these claims are groundless. "I'm sure my deputy would have discovered any signs of foul play," he said. "We're looking at someone who was a little worked up, who'd had a drink or two. It's tragic, but accidents happen." Webster's widow, Cherry, said in a statement, "I have faith in the sheriff's office, and I'm so grateful for their help. Nick was the love of my life, and I don't know what I'll do without him." Mrs. Webster did not address whether Old Scratch Tavern will reopen, but Perdition residents will surely miss their favorite neighborhood barkeep. Carol Neubauer, a member of the Perdition Billiards Club, said Old Scratch's pool championship won't be the same without Nick cheering us on. Donna Goddard, a long patron of Webster's bar, said, "It's heartbreaking. Nick made the best old-fashioned in town, and I know I won't be the only person having one in his honor tonight." Funeral services will be held Sunday at 11 a.m. at Boggs Funeral Home, followed by a reception at Old Scratch Tavern. So I don't know if the backside of this article will be of any clue, but it says the scenic waterfall just outside Perdition could be included in the sale of land if negotiations proceed. So this is where he was found dead. Maybe somebody wants to devalue it? Monday's town council meeting turned contentious when a preliminary hearing about selling a parcel of municipal land ended in threats against the council members. The meeting, scheduled originally for 30 minutes, continued for over an hour when Joan Campbell stood up during the question and answer period. The tone of the discussion quickly became tense. Campbell identified herself as the founder and sole member of the Save Devil's Well Foundation, an organization she claimed is devoted to protecting the wilderness around Devil's Well. Campbell accused the council of accepting bribes and claimed that Devil's Well is a sacred site that deserves official protection. She ended by threatening to come to the councilors' homes and do to you what you do to our environment. Security attempted to remove Campbell from the meeting, but she resisted, injuring a bystander in the process. "No one was seriously hurt," said Councilman Dale Lynch, "but none of us expected this to get so ugly." The proposed sale would include roughly 600 acres of land west of town, most of which was old-growth forest, as well as several residential and commercial properties. There is no word yet about the purpose of the sale, but Lynch stated that the council considers the deal advantageous. "We think this could greatly enrich our town," said Lynch, "but of course if everyone is against it, the deal won't go forward." So here we have our suspect sheets. Looks like we have 4 different suspect sheets, starting with Donna Goddard. She's a female, 5'8", born 1980. She is black with black hair and brown eyes, no aliases, drives a Lincoln Continental, no criminal arrests, associate's degree in business. She is a real estate agent and Hoosier realtor. Notes: my favorite regular at Old Scratch. Comes in 3 to 4 times a week, kills at karaoke, mops the floor with the competition at pool, always tips well. Handled the sale of the bar when Nick bought it in 2005. Seller was Lou LaVale. His father opened it in 1957. Very involved around town, women's choir, billiards club, Brown County hiking club. Last person to leave the bar the night Nick died. Left maybe an hour before closing time, which is late for her. She seemed on edge, but when I asked if everything was okay, she shrugged it off. Left a note on her menu and a matchbox on the counter for Nick, but he never got the chance to see it. At the funeral reception, we talked about how Old Scratch was like a second home to her, how everyone there could see what a special place Nick had made it. Looked like she'd been crying a lot. We talked afterward, just reminiscing, and she said something really odd, like, if only I had been faster, maybe I could have made a difference. Before I could ask her what she meant, Nolan came over, and she started telling him about a job opening for a fry cook at the Limestone Diner. He was grateful for the lead. We've all been struggling to find work since Old Scratch closed. It's hard to believe we'll ever find another job as great. Went over to her house, hoping I could talk to her about the night Nick died. Said she'd been having a rough time that night, was preoccupied with some work problems. Then I decided to go for a drive, try and clear my thoughts. But it only got worse from there. When I asked about the stuff she'd left at the bar, she got really anxious and said we shouldn't talk here, and hustled me out of the house in a hurry. Tried to call her, no answer. Called her office, and they said she'd left on a business trip, not sure when she's supposed to get back. All right, a lot to digest here. If only I'd been faster, maybe I could have made a difference. That's an interesting statement to make. Next up, we have Joan Campbell. Born in 1979, female 5'6", white, brown hair, blue eyes. She's been arrested with charges dropped, been divorced, a BA in ecology. Employment is a bee farmer, sells honey at local farmers markets. The notes say, her house is the nearest property to Old Scratch, not much else nearby. Eccentric, to put it mildly. On nights the bar is busy, she'll sit in a chair out by the roadside and curse people driving by, and not foul language. She generally believes she's putting hexes on people. Apparently she's been claiming some evil corporation from Indianapolis wants to sow the land near Devil's Well with poison, or something. Sounds pretty out there to me, but I've heard stranger things, I guess. Then again, she's also been saying Nick's got what he deserved, so who knows. Went over to her place hoping to ask her some questions, but she said she won't talk to interlopers from Old Scratch bent on destroying life. And she threatened to shoot me if I didn't get off her property, so I left. I've never understood why she hates the bar so much, just that the bad blood goes back a long time. Wish I could ask Nick. There are a lot of things I wish we could talk about these days. Snuck onto her property when I knew she'd be in town, took a picture of something that looks promising, but I'm still waiting on the results from the Deviant Tracker Boot Tread database. Wish I could afford the pro version because light isn't impressing me. Alright, so sounds like she wants Nick gone. She's a little crazy. She puts hexes on people. She might be in line with the whole devil nature of things. This is Chris Thompson. He is a white male, blonde hair, brown eyes, 5'11", no aliases, drives a Dodge Durango and a Toyota Prius, BA in criminal justice. He's a deputy. Oh, so we're suspecting the deputy maybe. Notes. He went to high school with my sister. She says he was popular, but had a reputation as a ladies' man. Very outdoorsy, always hunting or fishing whenever's in season. Went to talk to him at the sheriff's office on Tuesday. He confirmed that Nick's blood alcohol level wasn't off the charts. .06 is tipsy, but not seriously impaired. When I pressed him for more info, he told me the details aren't being made available to the public. Said Nick's death was tragic, but accidents just happen sometimes. Yeah, right. Visited him at home. Seemed annoyed at first, but let me in. Probably didn't hurt that I brought pizza. Snooped around a bit while he was in the kitchen getting plates and stole an open envelope that was at the bottom of a pile of mail on the table. Mostly talked about hobbies. He's in the hiking club too, apparently. Said he's been helping Cherry with some stuff around the house, just trying to be a friend in her time of need. On my way out, I took a peek into his car, noticed something that might be useful. Ran into him at Limestone Diner, gave me a bunch of platitudes about moving on with your life, as if he had any idea what I'm going through. After he was done condescending to me, he went to pay his bill and left his pocket notebook sitting out on the table. Couldn't resist tearing out a page. Too bad I didn't get more. Showed up at my house later that night, scared me half to death banging on the door. Accused me of theft, threatened to press charges. I know he won't. If he couldn't even figure out that Nick was murdered, there's no way he'll be able to prove anything. Okay, he's kind of a shady deputy. And Cherry Webster. White female, 5'7", brown hair, blue eyes. Let's see, arrested for shoplifting a couple of times, charges dropped, teaches at Perdition Fitness Center. Notes. At the funeral, she kept telling me how highly her husband thought of me and how grateful she was I'd always been there for him. Losing Nick had been hard on her, but she's really gracious. She and Nick were sort of an odd couple. She's so polished, and Nick at his best was kind of a mess. A lovable mess, but the kind of guy who buys a round of drinks for the whole bar, then forgets his wallet. She could be kind of hard on him sometimes. Like once he missed their anniversary and he slept in the bar for a week. But he was crazy about her, called her the love of his life. Courtney, who works the day shift at Old Scratch, loves Cherry's bar class at the fitness center, says Cherry's kind of a perfectionist, but in a good way. Apparently, she was accepted to study ballet in Annapolis when she was 14, but her scholarship fell through. She broke the news that she doesn't have plans to reopen Old Scratch. I don't know how I could bear it. Not when there's a memory of poor Nikki around every corner. Stopped by Webster's house to drop off some condolence cards. Told me she was staying at a friend's house the night Nick died. When I brought up the possibility of foul play, she absolutely refused to consider it. Nick had been behaving so strangely, saying things that weren't there, drinking too much. I'm sure he didn't even realize what he was doing. She looked like she was about to start crying, so I didn't stay much longer after that. Alright, so she doesn't want to accept that he might have been murdered, or is that a cover-up? We have a surveillance photo here. This is super creepy. Look at that. There is a devil mask of someone standing in the doorway. So this is the storeroom on December 7th at 3:33 in the morning. And looks like, oh look, a height chart is right next to it. So it's a little hard to tell. Might be that he is 6, 7, 8, 9, 5'9", 5'10"-ish. 5'8". Joan is too short. This person is definitely taller than 5'6", so I'm pretty sure we can rule out Joan. Alright, Chris is 5'11", which actually is a little bit more in line. And Cherry is 5'7", so I'm going to say no. So I think it is either Donna or Chris, and I'm leaning toward Chris because this looks a little tall. But we don't know. I mean, he could be standing on something or wearing really high heels. We'll find out in a moment. We have a photo here. It is a boot print and a matchbox. Donna had the matchbox. Donna's wearing boots in her photo here. I guess she was a hiker or something, right? Donna had the matchbox, but she left it on the counter. So someone else could have picked up the matchbox. Let's go ahead and take a look at the matchbox. Old Scratch Tavern. Somebody lit a match. Oh, look, there's a number inside on the matchbox. 812. Let's see. Do we have any phone numbers listed on any of these? So, Donna could have left her phone number for Nick to find. Somebody else found it and followed him, but who? And that might have upset Cherry. All right, let's see what other clues we have. We have a mysterious note here. Interlopers will be banished to the bottom of the Devil's Well. Joan Campbell uses the phrase interlopers. She said she won't talk to interlopers from Old Scratch bent on destroying life. So this sounds like a threat by Joan Campbell. A couple of notebook pages here. I think this is the notes of the devil sightings, maybe. October 13th, rock through the back window, nothing on cams. 19th, 2 fires in one night. Fire department thinks I'm crazy, but I know it's him. 22nd, find out when Darling's anniversary present will be ready. Fire near parking lot. Cam 1 only raccoons. 24th, broke cam on loading dock, ordered replacement. 26th, I can see the devil in the woods. I'm just not fast enough to catch him. No footage. 31st, 3 fires in the woods tonight. Didn't bother to call the fire department. No signs on any cams. November 8th, biggest fire yet, was a close one. The 10th, remember to pick up Darling's gift. 12th, shadow by loading dock, 3:13 a.m. Don't be late for dinner. Reservation tomorrow. Don't want a repeat of last year. 16th, note in mailbox. You'll burn for what you've done. Owl on cam 2, 10:32 p.m. The 19th, fire by the loading dock, 1:56 a.m. Burned wall pretty bad, but no structural damage. Still no footage. Prints, though, the devils. 23rd, what is she thinking? Why would she go behind my back like that? November 24th, another note. Are you ready to die? Something bad is coming, got to be ready. 27th, I found proof right there in the open. Can't make it out, but I know what it means and what I have to do. Fire in the woods, 4:14 a.m. 28th, see at Mother's, thank God, dead raccoon in parking lot. Sounds like they've started to fight. December 1st, fire was big this time, almost didn't catch it. Not sure I'll be so lucky next time. The 3rd, Nolan and Courtney witnessed for me. Put the papers somewhere safe. 4th, note in mailbox. When you are cold in the ground, who will be sorry you are gone? These days I'm not so sure. Still can't crack this code. December 6th, moved front door cam again. Maybe I'll finally catch the devil in the act if he doesn't get me first. December 7th, the code repeats. I knew it. All right, well, what code? I guess we're going to come to that. Sounds like he and his wife might have had some problems or getting a divorce, perhaps. We have the coaster from the bar that says, the date you can't forget, month, year. I'm guessing this refers to the anniversary. It says here on the 12th, don't be late for dinner, reservation tomorrow. So November 13th is the anniversary. What year is this? I don't know. Scratch Tavern, we need to talk. Who wrote that? Few words are circled here. About, land, Wednesday, Devil's Well, 11 p.m. All right, so we need to talk. Maybe about the land, Wednesday, Devil's Well, 11 p.m. So someone wanted to meet him. So this was from Donna. She, it says here, left a note on her menu and a matchbox on the counter for Nick, but he never got the chance to see it. We have a ticket here, 3:30 in the morning. Looks like a violation for taillights out. This was for the Lincoln. Who drove the Lincoln? Silver Lincoln was Donna. But Donna was at this address. So does this mean she was somewhere else at the time of the murder? Next we have the flyer. Protect Devil's Well. Ritual to banish evil forces. Meet at the Stone Circle near Devil's Well, December 7th, moonset, 3:04 a.m. We cannot stand idly by while despicable people wreak wanton destruction and desecrate our precious untamed land. We must protect our wild spaces from interlopers bent on ruination. Keep Devil's Well pure. Banish unwelcome adversaries. No more greedy developers. No new construction on CR 66. Litter. Over 400 empty beer bottles collected along CR 66 this month alone. Noise pollution. Loud music at all hours disrupts normal behavior patterns in the wildlife. Senseless slaughter by drunk drivers. There are 5 times more serious collisions on CR 66 than any other road in the county. We have all seen defenseless wildlife and harmless house cats destroyed by reckless drivers. Join hands in this ritual to eliminate the foul forces despoiling our sacred wilderness. No experience required. Alright, so we know that Old Scratch Tavern is on County Road 66, right by Devil's Well, in the Stone Circle. Do not park at Old Scratch Tavern. They are the enemy, and you will be towed. We have boots. Looks like we should be able to tell some boot prints, perhaps. This print looks like this pattern, so I think he was sketching the boot print he found in a Toyota, which is Chris Thompson's personal vehicle. We have the envelope that was stolen from Chris, it looks like. Inside, we appear to have a code. Now, I think if we flip this inside out, we can read this. But what is the code, the combination? I think maybe we'll find that clue later. So let's just set this aside for the moment. Sheriff's Office, December 7th, badge 33. 134, traffic stop. Red Honda going 60 in a 25 zone. Ames Avenue by Brewer Hill Cemetery. Ticket. 312, report of suspicious person. 13, CR 66, no sign of unusual activity on arrival. Searched property. Called in all clear after confirming building secure. 331, traffic stop, Silver Lincoln, taillights out. That's the ticket we saw earlier. 401, collision between blue Cadillac and black Lincoln. Hawkins Road, near Piggledy convenience store. No serious injuries. Booked Lincoln driver for DUI. Is that one of our people here? There we had a silver Lincoln. Silver Lincoln and a blue Cadillac. That's none of our people. Okay. Possible dead body called in at 6:37 in Devil's Well. Confirmed no signs of life. Called coroner, no ID, but able to confirm victim's identity. Secured scene. 6:59. Made initial search of area. No signs of struggle on riverbank. Fall from ledge seems likely. 7:29. Coroner arrived. Agreed fall is likely cause of death. Says he's probably been dead 3 to 4 hours. So what would that time be? So 3 to 4 hours would be 3:29 to 4:29. 8:45, went to 2 CR66 to talk to neighbor who found the body. Stated she was out for a walk shortly after 6 o'clock when she discovered the body on the rocks beside the waterfall, then returned to call the police. 10:22, back to scene, search of waterfall underway. Haven't found much so far besides some empty beer bottles, probably just litter. 11:17, gave update to McGinty. He agrees with accident scenario. Will proceed accordingly. 12:32, coroner okayed removal of remains. Morty from Boggs Funeral Home to pick up. 13:05, told Cherry she took it about as expected, did my best to calm her down, reassured her foul play unlikely, made sure she called her mother to come down and stay so she's not alone at a time like this. We appear to have some communications from the Good Fences Company. This reads, Carmichael Road residents, beware. If you live on Carmichael Road and want to sleep through the night, good luck. I didn't get a wink of sleep last night because my neighbor's inconsiderate hussy of a girlfriend shows up to his house at all hours to be as disruptive as possible. I swear she knocked over every single thing in his backyard, letting herself into his house. Then she turned on all the lights, which shine right into my bedroom windows. I don't know what possessed her to start playing music so late, but I assume it was intended to annoy me personally. Thankfully, it stopped after a couple of hours, but not before I was robbed of my beauty rest. This isn't the first time they have been inappropriately loud. You'd think they'd have the decency to be ashamed of themselves, but no, they are determined to make a mockery of law-abiding citizens in this peaceful community. That was the 7th at 6:32 a.m. Oh, so that's what all the noise was around 2:30 last night. Maybe try sleep masks and earplugs? Why so judgmental, Nancy? I agree, they could be more considerate of their neighbors, but the heart wants what it wants. Besides, who are you to cast the first stone, as if you haven't committed a few indiscretions in your life? What? Hey, I know it's last minute, but is anyone going to this banishing ceremony out by Devil's Well tonight? I've seen flyers for it around town and it sounds cool, but also I don't want to get murdered or whatever. Anyone know who's organizing it or what their deal is? No idea who's running it, but I wouldn't go hang out with a bunch of strangers in the woods at night. I can't make this ritual. I'm at a coven meeting in Indianapolis tonight, but I promise you'll come to no harm. Update. So I wound up going by myself, and it was totally bonkers. I got there at like 3 in the morning, and it was just me and this lady with a basket of weird herbs. We spent like 30 to 40 minutes burning herbs and chanting. At one point, I heard something crashing around in the underbrush, and I got worried she'd actually summoned something, but I guess it was just an animal or whatever. Then she hands me this shovel and tells me to start walking. I thought she was going to kill me for sure. Instead, she made me pick up a dead fox off the side of the highway and carry it over to this old dive bar. She made me put the fox on the ground by their mailbox, and then she covered it with the ashes from the fire and yelled, "For Vinegar Tom," whatever that means. After that, she thanked me for helping support the cause and asked if I needed help getting back to my car. Anyway, I guess perdition has its very own witch, but at least I didn't die. 7 of 10 would go again. So it looks like she was there at 3 in the morning for at least 40 minutes, burning herbs and whatnot, and then doing her thing. And obviously she was with the crazy lady. We've got boot prints. We have a number of different boot prints. And again, from bar owner's notes, he did find boot prints by the fire. Let's see which ones match. So they are men's boot prints, and that does kind of clearly look like this print in the woods as well. The match. All right, we have the Websters since 2004. So that is the year that they were married. So I think we have figured out the anniversary date. The anniversary was 11/13 of 04. We still haven't figured this out. Let's open up the bag first. Maybe there's a clue in here. So I think we need, the code was the month and the year. So that was, 11/04. Okay, there we go. We have opened the bag. So let's see. We've got a bunch of different things here. 6CR66 from Tate Trevert to Nick Webster. Dear Mr. Webster, I apologize for reaching out to you directly. I understand you're a busy man, but since I haven't heard back from your wife about our latest offer, I thought I'd try you instead. I can assure you we are still highly motivated to acquire your property. If there are any aspects of our offer which I can provide clarification, please don't hesitate to ask. That was on November 23rd. November 8th. Mrs. Webster. I appreciate that big decisions like this one take time, but I hope to hear from you soon to discuss finalizing our offer. If there's anything further I can do, please let me know. Sincerely, Tate Trevert. And obviously we're reading these in backwards order. Let's start from the back and read forward. So, Cherry Webster to Tate. Mr. Trevert, thank you for taking the time to speak with me this morning. My husband and I have been so troubled by what's happening at the bar, and honestly, it would be such a relief not to worry anymore. Running Old Scratch means so much to Nick, but these days I can't shake the feeling that something terrible will happen to him. As you can imagine, he's been preoccupied recently, so he asked me to handle the sale directly. I hope you understand. And he replied, Ms. Webster, of course, that's no trouble at all. I'll be happy to discuss the details of our offer with you over the phone at your earliest convenience. I think you'll find it quite reasonable. She replied, I'm so glad we were able to come to an agreement. Nick and I just need a few weeks to put our affairs in order, and then we should be able to finalize the deal. Thank you for your patience. I'll be in touch soon. We have another envelope with another code. It says 407. I wonder if that is somehow how to correct this code. And then we also have a last will and testament. I, Nicholas Daniel Webster of Perdition, Indiana, being of sound mind and not under duress of any kind, and fully aware of the nature and extent of my property and of its disposition herein, do hereby declare this document to be my last will and testament, and hereby revoke any and all wills I previously made. I direct that all of my outstanding debts, including any expenses incurred after my death, such as funeral and burial costs, be paid out of my estate as soon after my death as reasonably possible to do. I further direct that any and all estate and inheritance tax shall be paid out of my estate before the dispensation stipulated below. I bequeath the remainder of my estate to the following beneficiaries. To Joan Campbell, by way of an apology for the trouble she has suffered because of me, I leave the amount of $5,000 in support of the Save Devil's Well Foundation. Should she fail to survive me, or for any reason refuse this bequest, this amount shall be donated to the Perdition Animal Rescue Society in the name of Vinegar Tom the Cat. I've always felt terrible that the driver who killed your Tom was leaving Old Scratch, and I don't blame you for holding a grudge. I hope this helps to make things right. I should have done it sooner. So that's where that name Vinegar Tom came from. For Donna Marie Goddard, in recognition of her years of loyal patronage, I provide that she shall receive free drinks at Old Scratch Tavern for the period of her natural life, or for as long as the bar shall remain in business, whichever is longest. Should she fail to survive me for any reason, or refuse this bequest, it is not transferable to any other individual. You supported me from the very start, and I want you to know you'll always be welcome at Old Scratch. To Carmen Maria Rojas, as thanks for her steadfast service and honest friendship, I leave the remainder of my estate, including Old Scratch Tavern and all associated assets, the balance of my retirement account, and the payout of my life insurance policy. Should she fail to survive me, or for any reason refuse this bequest, I then devise and bequeath the remainder of my estate to her sister, Christina Elena Rojas. It's the least I can do for you, kiddo. You're the best damn bartender in Indiana, and the kind of family I always hoped I'd find. I couldn't leave the bar in better hands. Omission. I have intentionally, and not as a result of any mistake or inadvertence, omitted in this will to provide for my spouse, Cherry Ann Webster. I know you never cared much for the bar, but I thought at least you cared for me. I was a fool to think so, but better a fool than a liar, I guess. I, the undersigned, blah, blah, blah. So he was cutting her out of the will. So she looked like she was trying to sell the land, and it was causing them to be unhappy, maybe, and divorce. We still have these codes to solve. What do they say? Pretty sure this 407 has something to do with it. All right, this code took me a little pondering, but this 407 is the only number that really references anything. And here in his notes, it says that the code repeats, I knew it. So he knew that Cherry and Chris were communicating with each other. I think what I've figured out, so this repeats. We are going to do the first letter, we're going to shift back 4. The second one we're going to leave alone because it's 0. The third one we're going to shift back 7. And then it's going to repeat 407, 407, so forth. So E shifted back 4 becomes A. N is alone. F shifted back 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 becomes Y, and so forth. So I figured out this first word, because we're repeating again, X shifted back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is T. I stays the same. T shifts back 7, becomes M. I shift back 4 is E, so anytime. Okay, so we have solved the response, which was anytime. Wish it were just us without your old man in the way. What was the original question? This code is 407, but it is also the street number of his address. So if I do the same code here with 131, and again, we're going to take D as in 1 letter back would be C, 3 letters back from D is A, 1 letter back from O is N, 1 letter back from U is T. We've got can't. Here we have our completed code. It says, can't wait to see you. Mind if I borrow the car again? So this was from Cherry to Chris. Remember, Chris had sent her a reply, which we have already deciphered, that said, anytime, wish it were just us without your old man in the way. Very suspicious. So that brings us to the end of the clues. Before we read this solution, let's see if we can solve the crime. If you've already figured out whodunit, leave me a comment below. But let's take a quick review of the clues to see if we can solve this thing. So I think this is a very important clue itself. We know that Cherry has been borrowing Chris's car. Obviously, they're having an affair. We know that Cherry has been cut out of the will, and that is because he has found out that either she has been cheating on him or she is trying to sell the bar. We know she's trying to sell the bar because of this email chain with this developer. Now, Nick's notes here say on December 7th, the day that he died, he figured out that the code repeats itself. That code refers to this code repeating with that number that repeats to help us decipher it. And it's on this day that he realizes they don't want him in the way, so he might be a little nervous. Perhaps he confronted his wife, and that's why he had to be eliminated today. So my leading suspects are Chris and Cherry. We did, of course, have the note based on the interloper wording and the statements here. I think it's pretty clear to say that this was Joan Campbell because she won't talk to interlopers from old scratch. But I don't think it could have been Joan because at 3:04 she was doing her little demonstration at the well, and this neighborhood chain shows he was there for about 40 minutes, and I think we'll see that that's the time frame that Nick was killed. We also have this Good Fences message about the hussy of a girlfriend showing up to what I'm guessing is Nick's apartment. This is a red herring. So she came to the apartment, turned on all the lights in the bedroom, played some music. She writes here, I don't know what possessed her to start playing music so late, but I assume it was intended to annoy me personally. I think that means she's setting up an alibi, but I don't buy it. Now, one clue I'm a little confused at is we have Donna. Now, she was at the bar, and she left this note, apparently. I think she was the one that left this, and I'm not sure it makes sense. So it says, about the land, Wednesday, Devil's Well, 11 p.m. I don't know if she was wanting to meet Nick. She left a phone number. I don't know if this is her phone number. I don't understand this series of clues at all, but I don't believe it was Donna in any case. She did say in her statements here, if only I'd been faster, maybe I could have made a difference. Did she mean getting to Nick? Did she know something was happening? Because she is the one, apparently, that received this speeding ticket. She had the silver Lincoln Continental, and this is a ticket issued by Chris. It's a little hard to read his signature, but he is badge 33 on his detective pad here. We have badge 33, and he indicates at 3:31 there was a traffic stop and that matches the 3:31 time frame for Donna. And I think this sort of eliminates both of these individuals, because at 3:33 we see the devil that Nick ended up trying to chase out and led to his ultimate death. So I was a little concerned about the height, and I think because this camera's up, the perspective makes it hard to tell exactly what height this person is. I was originally thinking it was going to be Chris because it looks like it's closer to the 6. He is 5'11". Cherry's 5'7", which would be here, so it's hard to say. Maybe, though, if she were wearing boots, she might be a little taller. We do know we had a boot footprint at the scene of the crime, along with the matches, so somebody, maybe Cherry, for instance, came to the bar, found the matchbox and the note for Nick, and thought this woman was trying to hit on him, and maybe she wanted to go find her. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But I think Cherry was wearing the boots. As in our series of photographs, this one shows the scene of the crime with the boot print. A couple of pictures of boots. I think this one was Donna's, but it doesn't matter because this tread matches what was in the notes. Whoever's starting the fires near the bar, trying to run him out, has the same boot print that's in the Toyota. And the person who drives the Toyota is Chris. But remember, Cherry has been borrowing Chris's car, and she would then know that those boots were in the trunk. So I think she borrowed the car, wore the boots and the costume to try and drive Nick away. He followed her up the mountain, and she pushed him off. And that, I think, is whodunit. Let's go ahead and open the solution and see if we're correct. Do not open until you are sure you know who the killer is. We have 2 items inside the envelope. This reads, "Hello, investigator. Nice work. Thanks to you, Cherry Webster is behind bars, and your client, Carmen, found justice for her friend. I knew you were up to this challenge. You can bet I'll be turning to you for help in future cases, too. Congratulations on your success, Michelle." Webster's death a murder. Suspect arrested. The death of Old Scratch Tavern owner Nicholas Webster has been reclassified as a murder, according to the official paperwork filed this week. Though Webster's December 7th death was initially ruled an accident, the case was recently reopened as a homicide. Sheriff Paul McGinty confirmed a suspect is now in custody in connection with Webster's death. Cherry Webster, the victim's widow, has been charged with the murder of her husband, the motive of which is believed to be financial gain. The sheriff's office announced there will be an external inquiry into their handling of the investigation into Webster's death. While Sheriff McGinty would not discuss the scope of this inquiry, he did confirm that Deputy Christopher Thompson, the officer in charge of the original investigation, has been suspended without pay. According to Carmen Rojas, an employee at the bar Mr. Webster owned, the case was solved thanks to new evidence uncovered by a private investigator. None of this would have happened without the help of Gray Investigations, she said. I'll always be grateful to the investigator who worked my case. And on the back, we have a clue that the Old Scratch Tavern is reopening. So I've gone on to their website to check the clues and the reveals, and there are certain things that perhaps we missed. For instance, you're supposed to be able to see that this person is holding a match. Maybe that's the matchbook that they're holding. I can't tell at all what's going on there. This image is too dark. I did get it right that the angle of the camera was affecting the height, so at the downward angle, this person's closer to 5'6". Apparently this matchbook is not the one that was left at the bar. Now, I did not realize that the letters here on this threatening note were taken from the flyer, and apparently also the menu. So it was either made by Joan or someone's trying to set up Joan. Now, The circled letters here apparently was from Donna to Nick saying that they needed to talk about Devil's Well land Wednesday at 11 p.m. in reference to the town trying to sell the land around Nick's bar, but it doesn't fit with the time of death, and he did not die on Wednesday, so this meeting is not when the murder happened. The Matchbox number was, in fact, from Donna wanting to talk to Nick about the land deal. Not sure why it had to be so secret, and she was supposed to be a regular at the bar. Would he not have already maybe known her number? Were they not already friends, as I kind of anticipated?
Hi, you've reached Donna Goddard at Who's Your Realtor. I'm currently out of town on business. If you're interested in scheduling a showing for a commercial or residential property, please leave a message and I'll be happy to set something up when I get back from Indianapolis.
So that was actually Donna's phone number. I never even thought to call the number, but it is a legit number. I was thinking to myself it was strange they didn't use some sort of 555 number, but it is what it is. So we missed that clue entirely. But we did get most of the rest of the clues itself. So we do have a solution here. Let me go ahead and read this for us. While any one of the suspects is capable of murdering someone by pushing them off a cliff, not all of them have access to the boots worn by the murderer. The pair of Wood River Fortress boots was in the back of Chris's car, but from the encoded messages, we know that Cherry also had access to Chris's car. Motive. Of the four suspects, only Donna doesn't have a strong motive to want Nick dead. Joan still blames Nick for the death of her cat and believes that the bar is detrimental to the community. Chris and Cherry are having an affair, and getting rid of Nick would make both of their lives easier. On top of that, Cherry wants Nick to sell the bar, and he has been unwilling to do so. With him out of the way, she could finally be rid of Old Scratch Tavern and get out of perdition. Opportunity. From the security camera photo, we know that the devil was outside Old Scratch Tavern at 3:33 a.m., and we know from the newspaper article that Nick died minutes after giving chase to the devil. This puts his time of death around 3:35 a.m. Joan has an alibi for the time because of the ritual that started at 3:04 a.m. and went for 30 to 40 minutes, and immediately afterwards she instructed Mia to help her leave another dead animal outside the bar. Donna and Chris also have an alibi, as Chris was giving Donna a ticket at 3:31 a.m. Meanwhile, Cherry has no alibi. She attempted to give herself one by causing a disturbance at Chris's house around 2:30 a.m., but we know she has access to Chris's car and is the correct height to be the person in the devil mask. Cherry is the only suspect to have means, motive, and opportunity. Before we go, I did want to say a special thank you to all the patrons who help support the channel. If you're interested in checking out our Fright Club, be sure to check out a link to my Patreon page in the description below. That's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed Death at the Dive Bar. Again, this was a level 1. I did solve it, so I think it wasn't necessarily easy. I had to think through a lot, but we did, and it was totally solvable. So I'm interested in trying another one maybe soon, and I will take you along with me. If you enjoyed this, let me know if you did, and then I look forward to solving another murder with you. Until then, take care, everyone, and happy sleuthing.